Pagan Origins of Christmas, Part 2. December 6th, Eve of St. Nicholas. Now, when one goes to look up the actual history, the actual truth behind the individual known as Santa Claus today, I'll begin this video. Well, when one goes looking up this truth, it's very challenging to discern the truth from the error and to even find the actual truth, because it's buried under such myth and stuff. And even articles claiming to expose Santa Claus still praise his name and glory. So this video is being uploaded on a special day, December 6th this year, that normally I don't upload on. It's Monday this year. This is 2021. This video is uploaded. It's uploaded the day before, so you can hear it December 6th. So it's most likely December 6th now when you're listening to this, and that's what's known as the Eve of St. Nicholas. So let's cut to the chase. I'm quoting from The Plain Truth About Christmas, original 1970 edition by Herbert W. Armstrong, page 16. Yes, and even Santa Claus. But surely dear old Santa Claus is not a creature of pagan birth. But he is, and his real character is not so benevolent and holy as many suppose. The name Santa Claus is a corruption of the name Saint Nicholas, a Roman Catholic bishop who lived in the 5th century. Look in the Encyclopedia Britannica, volume 19, pages 648 through 49, 11th edition, where you will read, quote, St. Nicholas, Bishop of Myra, a saint honored by the Greeks and Latins on the 6th of December. A legend of his surreptitious bestowal of dowries on the 3 daughters of an impoverished citizen is said to have originated the old custom of giving presents in secret on the eve of St. Nicholas, December 6th, subsequently transferred to Christmas Day. Hence the association of Christmas with Santa Claus, unquote. And also notice that this supposed saint took a man's 3 daughters as payment because he couldn't pay, so he came and took his children, his daughters, in the secret of the night. And if he's like most Catholic priests, and I won't say what they are, but it starts with a P and ends with the edophile. Well, we know what actually this quote-unquote saint did with these daughters. And that's, again, like I pointed out in point 1, Santa Claus eventually replaced Nimrod as the one leaving gifts under the tree. Because remember, after Nimrod died, his whore mother Semiramis put out the lie that Nimrod died, and he's resurrected as a spirit being. And this evergreen tree that suddenly sprung overnight represented it, because the ancients believed the spirits of dead people lived in those trees. So that's where and then watch part 1 for more information. So again, Santa Claus took impoverished citizens' 3 daughters in the secret on December 6th. Continuing from The Plain Truth About Christmas, through the year, parents punish their children for telling falsehoods. Then at Christmas time, they themselves tell their little children this Santa Claus lie. Is it any wonder many of them, when they grow up and learn the truth, begin to believe God is a myth too? One little fellow, sadly disillusioned, said, quote, Santa Claus said to a playmate, yes, and I'm going to look into this Jesus Christ business too. Is it Christian to teach children myths and falsehoods? God says, thou shalt not bear false witness. It may seem right and be justified by human reason, but God says there is a way that seemeth right to a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Old Nick also is a term for the devil. Is there a connection? Satan appears as an angel of light to deceive. 2 Corinthians 11:14, Revelation 12, verse 9. And so when we examine the facts, we are astonished to learn that the practice of observing Christmas is not, after all, a true Christian practice, but a pagan custom, one of the ways of Babylon our people have fallen into. All right, so that's the section on Santa Claus in Mr. Armstrong's book. Looking this up, though, remember the encyclopedia Mr. Armstrong quoted said this St. Nicholas lived in the 5th century. So that would be the 400s AD, to simplify it. Whereas I looked up in this encyclopedia, and I know this ain't the most reliable encyclopedia, though, but the Wikipedia, it had an article on St. Nicholas, also claiming this St. Nicholas was from Myra. But this St. Nicholas lived earlier than the 5th century, the Encyclopedia Britannica 46 edition talked about. This St. Nicholas lived in the 4th century and died in the 4th century. But what's interesting about this St. Nicholas, and I don't know if this is the one we talked about again or if it ties into Santa Claus, but it's interesting that this St. Nicholas was also a Catholic priest, and he actually attended the Council of Nicaea 325 AD that I constantly bring attention to in videos in this channel. Because 325 AD is when the Roman Empire hijacked the established church system and forced the Roman holidays, now cloaked in Christianity, on the people. The mark of the beast then was forced. The spiritual mark of the beast began to be enforced 325 AD. But not all complied, because later, after Constantine died, he died in the year 337 AD, and in 363, 364 AD, depending upon what encyclopedia you use, the Catholic Council of Laodicea met because people were still keeping God's Sabbaths and holy days, and they didn't like that. So they said that any who shall be found to be Judaizers, let them be anathema from Christ. And when they were declared anathema by the church, or the whore on the beast, the government stepped in, arrested them, persecuted, eventually tormented them, and killed them because they wouldn't receive the spiritual mark of the beast, Sunday worship, and the Roman holidays, now cloaked in Christianity. But this bishop, St. Nicholas, again, supposedly attended the Catholic Council of Laodicea. Here, I'll read a part of it. Council of Nicaea. I said Laodicea. I meant Nicaea. Okay, so in 325, Nicholas is said to have attended the first Council of Nicaea, where he is said to have been a staunch opponent of Arianism and a devoted supporter of Trinitarianism. That's another thing. In the Council of Nicaea, they made the Trinity doctrine law, but they couldn't make it truth because it's not truth. And this other variation, Arianism, it was a Dr. Arius of Alexandria, where he staunchly opposed the Trinity doctrine, but he himself was wrong too, because he claimed that one of the members of God had a beginning, when that's contrary to John 1:1. So I'm going to now end this, because like I say, I wrote a book a couple of years back, well actually probably about 10 years, and I'm going to read from the book I wrote, the section about Santa Claus. It was known to a certain extent, days of mankind, that the Messiah was to be born of a virgin mother. The whore Semiramis claimed she was that virgin. Through her religion, she set herself up as the virgin queen of heaven, who had given birth to their savior, Nimrod. Because the false savior, Nimrod, the theme with all false messiahs or saviors is they always do away with the commandments of God. So because Nimrod, he'll build a tower higher than the levels that the flood had reached previously, they assumed that they could break God's laws, and if he flooded the earth again, they were free to go in his tower, and they were out of God's reach, so to speak. So Nimrod is the false savior because he, quote unquote, freed the people from having to obey God. And that's what the Antichrist does too in the end times. So as part of her twisted doctrine, the whore Semiramis claimed a dead tree stump had sprung up overnight into an evergreen tree, on Nimrod's date of birth, December 25th. This evergreen tree, she claimed, portrayed Nimrod's rebirth as a spirit. This lying whore, Semiramis, also put costly items under this evergreen tree and claimed Nimrod left gifts under the tree for the people. Every year on his birthday, Nimrod would visit this tree and leave gifts for the people, she claimed. The birthday celebration every year on December 25th does not honor the true Savior, Jesus Christ, but the false Savior, Nimrod. The name Santa Claus is a corruption of St. Nicholas. St. Nicholas was a Catholic priest in the 5th century. St. Nicholas was also an extremely perverted child molester. Imagine that, a Catholic priest that molested children. And Jesus said you would know them by their fruits. And I ain't holding back any punches. Back in the old days, in the Middle Ages, they openly said that the Church of Rome is not the spouse of Christ, because it isn't. The church or the cult of Rome is Satan's counterfeit. And I will do in the future, will be coming the roots of Roman Catholicism. It's amazing everything that's revealed in the Bible that these churches are not teaching us. So children sat on the lap of St. Nicholas because he was a pervert and got his thrills when he would rub himself against the children on his lap in public, especially in front of the parents. This corrupted, perverted Catholic priest, St. Nicholas, eventually replaced Nimrod as the one leaving gifts under the evergreen tree on December 25th. This pagan tradition is still continued today as Christmas. I have seen signs that read, quote, "Keep Christ in Christmas," unquote, when the truth is Christ was never involved in that pagan holiday to begin with. Christmas is a pagan festival and is covered in more detail later. So that's what December 6th is all about. This pervert came and took a guy's 3 daughters as payment, and subsequently, like the encyclopedia said, that was transferred to Christmas Day because Santa replaced Nimrod. But keep in mind, Santa is Satan. If you just rearrange the letters, and that's these elitists love to rub it in your faces, rearrange it, Santa is Satan.
Ooh, that's gotta hurt.